Good morning, everyone. It's September 19th, 2018. I'm Eric. I've been doing videos for about 5-6 years now. And one thing that I've maintained that entire time is the thought the economy would cause SHTF to happen. Now, with every passing day, our currency comes closer to collapsing. So, and not just that, our credit economy, everything. So, I found this throughout history. Economic calamity has often enabled the ruling class to transfer wealth and assets into their hands. And this is what happened during the Great Depression. Larger globalist banks like J.P. Morgan destroyed thousands of other smaller local banks until only the major ones were left. In the wake of 2008, one need only examine the historic widening of the wealth gap, as the top 1% are set to take control of 2/3 of the world's wealth by 2030. Or we could take into account the absorption of the housing market by conglomerates like Blackstone as private home ownership declined after the crash. The next economic disaster will be more substantial than all the bubbles of the past 100 years combined. And the intent on the part of the Rothschild bankers, the central bankers, is to obtain complete global centralization of all assets and resources. This time, though, the general public has finally learned to be more suspicious of the central banks and their motives during such events. Because of greater exposure from the 2008 crash, central banks and their institutions cannot rely merely on the mainstream media or government entities like the Bureau of Labor Statistics to cover up for them. They need a smokescreen. The trade war is perfect in this regard. So, I believe that it could not be anything other than planned, and here are some reasons why. Number one, the trade war provides cover for de-dollarization, and we've heard a lot about the de-dollarization of China, Russia, now Turkey, and even Germany's beginning to talk about it. So, with emerging markets previously addicted to easy money from the Fed, dollars were used to provide artificial support for their ailing economies. Now, with the Fed raising interest rates and cutting their balance sheets, the flow of dollars is drying up. Emerging markets are starting to look for alternatives as they have no other choice. And this would mean no more bilateral trade agreements. Or let me rephrase, this would mean more trade agreements that circumvent the dollar. Number two, the trade war provides a rationale for dumping U.S. treasuries. Russia is already well ahead of this process, dumping at least half of their U.S. treasuries in 1 month. It is only a matter of time before China uses the same method as retaliation for U.S. tariffs. The mainstream media will argue that this is not a meaningful threat to the U.S. economy, but consider the possibility that China's trading partners will follow their lead, causing a contagion of treasury dumped into the market. If the U.S. cannot maintain foreign investment in its considerable debts, it will implode economically. And the Federal Reserve has ensured that there is no policy tools left to come to the rescue when this happens. Number 3, trade war provides cover for inflation. With ever-increasing tariffs on goods and materials from around the world, retail prices are going to spike higher. But the real inflation danger will come from the Fed. True inflation is already well above Fed targets. The money creation that the central banks used to stall the debt crisis created an even bigger bubble in the dollar itself. With new tightening policies will come a rush of dollars back into the U.S. as emerging markets de-dollarize. And again, there's no more stimulus for the Fed to use. Number 4, the trade war provides cover for a renewed market crash. As the Fed's launched its bailout measures and quantitative easing, it was emerging market stocks that first began to climb exponentially out of the deep pit caused by the debt crisis. U.S. and European stocks followed to the insane bull market highs witnessed recently. Now, as the Fed restricts stimulus and cuts its balance sheet, it is emerging markets that are crashing first. The question is, will Western markets follow them down? I believe they absolutely will. Fed Chairman Powell admitted to this outcome in statements he made in October of 2012. Number 5, trade war provides cover for the demonization of conservative ideas. The concept of tariffs on foreign goods in order to encourage localized production and self-sufficiency is a tactic as old as America itself. It is conservative in nature and can be an effective measure in the right hands. That said, it requires an existing manufacturing base and relatively stable economic conditions. A debt-addled economy desperately clinging to the reserve status of its currency and fiat inflation for life is the worst environment to launch tariffs. The bottom line is that America has little to no leverage against its competitors because we are more dependent on them than they are on us. So, be looking for a major economic event. And these events can be used, they could be false flags too. Be looking for them, because when these things happen, not only is there a massive transfer of wealth, but there's also a massive transfer of power from the people to the ruling class. Hope you all have a good day. Till next time, kill the state, live free.